And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. Game number 2 in this series. LiviBee taking a fairly decisive victory in this game number 1. This is game number 2 now. And joining me is Joj. Joj, could you be so kind as to introduce both of these wonderful players?
Sure thing. In the bottom right-hand side of this map on Alkaline Wastes is MisterDee, our blue Protoss player. He's down one game underneath his opponent, LiviBee, who is the reserve in the top left. LiviBee showcased a really interesting Ling Roach 2-base into Mutalisk mass expand style on Whirlwind. I'm interested to see if the same sort of theory will apply to this game, or if she has another build that she wants to try. What do you think, Brad? What do you think we're going to see in this game?
Alkaline Flats is an interesting map. Because of the fact that you now know exactly where your opponent is located, you can conduct a lot of earlier harass. So that is going to be something that we can expect to some limited degree. That being said, I don't think MisterDee is going to do anything crazy. I think he's going to actually just bunker right down, play as safe as humanly possible, and but it'll take a couple of minutes here just for him to figure out what he wants to do, and we'll see in just a minute. Does he grab gases? Where does he go with his build? And that will give us a fairly good indicator of where he wants to be. That being said, LiviBee is in a really good position here. Taking game number 1 is really, really good, and basically will allow her to be able to choose how she wants to engage. She'll be able to go with early harass. She can go for macro game. She may very well go with what she's comfortable with, which is perhaps what that last match was, is her out of the box default, ZVP standard build that she's comfortable with. So I mean, anything goes at this point, but I would certainly think that in my mind, MisterDee is going to play it safe, and it does look like it's going to be that he's going to go for a forge fast expand.
Yeah, that forge fast expand, I'm interested as to know why he went for the forge fast expand, especially on this map, I guess. This map has a little bit of a wider choke at the natural, so like a Baneling bust or some kind of Roach compression would be much harder to stop on this map. But nothing crazy is coming out of LiviBee. LiviBee has gone for the 14 bull, going to be adding on a natural hatchery, adding queens, and a couple of lanes just to scout pylons around the third base to make sure the third base is easily secured. But yeah, natural is being taken by MisterDee. He's got the forward up. He's got the natural nexus. He's got the gateway, starting the photon cannon, and yeah, just going to be opened up pretty standard from both sides.
Yep, really nice, safe build by MisterDee. He knows he needs to play this game very, very well, and this also gives him the best possible economy earliest in the game. By having these two Nexus cranking out probes like nobody's business, it's going to be very good. But it is not an early pressure build. He's going to have a very, very difficult time attacking anything earlier than, say, about 7 minutes. He's going to be fine. But that being said, he will be able to defend this all day long. And as long as he doesn't really make any major mistakes, early pressure, he'll be in a really, really good shape. And that Overlord running over top has given LiviBee a great deal of scouting information. It has seen that it is a Forge Fast Expand and the Nexus is up. So she knows that she's completely safe. What is her answer? Throws down a third. Very, very smart decision making by her. This is a great decision, be able to just quickly grab that third. She knows she's not going to see any offensive units for quite some time, and why not press the advantage? If you already have a slight advantage and your opponent is going to turtle up, you expand, you get more macro, more economy, and you'll be better shape.
Yeah. Cybernetics core finishing up for MisterDee. This Cybernetics core timing is relatively early, but it's not too big of a deal. It's not necessarily indicative that it's going to be way aggressive. What we're going to be waiting to see is from the Protoss players where he's spending his chrono boost. If he's chrono boosting the Forge and the Cybernetics core, he could very easily go into a 1 timing like +1 attacks, or even a 1/1 timing into like a Mortal Sentry. But where we're waiting to see is tech choice. Tech choice usually happens around 6 minutes for Protoss off the Forge Fast Expand. And it's Stargate in this case. There it is.
Yep, and indeed, yeah, that is right, Stargate. And it is tucked away in the corner, so it has not yet been scouted. There is a mothership core out in the skies. Chrono boosting out actually workers as opposed to chrono boosting out Cybernetics core, going for the warp gate, or even going for a +1 upgrade. So as you mentioned, saving the chronos for the economy, certainly going to need it if you're working with a Stargate play. And we have another pylon going on over the left-hand side, so I'm assuming we'll have more additional structures over there. But things looking really good for MisterDee. But yeah, Stargate play, maybe some more Phoenix play. I think that's perhaps something he's getting prepared for early on, maybe thinking that LiviBee will continue the same kind of play as last match.
Yeah, And I'm going to go over to LiviBee's base for a little while, and she did something that a couple of Zergs have been doing since Wings of Liberty. And Forge Fast Expand builds against Zerg, you want to take Fast 3 base and then get gases around 6 minutes. Or you can delay gases until 6:30 and get 3 gases at once. And that's what she opted for, 3 gases and then getting Evolution Chamber and Roach Warren relatively early. And her supply is at 60 at the 7 minutes and 30 seconds of the game. That's very nice. She's going to have a very, very solid macro base for the rest of the game. She's not a hedge. This is kind of a benchmark she wants to hit. It's about 70 supply by 8 minutes. And she's doing very well. She's teching up to Lair. She's probably going to get +1 Roach attacks here shortly. She got that Evolution Chamber. And she's saturated on the gas on 3 bases and on 3 gas on total. So she's doing pretty well. Let's take a look at the worker count. She has 56 workers to 45. I would expect if she wanted to do some kind of crazy roach aggression, I would expect something like adding on maybe 5 to 10 more drones and then going mass roaches. But since she's adding on 3 spore crawlers plus more distractors, I would bet we're going to see something besides roaches.
Yep, and an Overlord is going to come in, back on in. I don't know why she pulled that one particular Overlord back. That's kind of interesting. Normally you leave them out so then that way you get some additional scouting, especially from like War Prisms and such that are coming in. Phoenix is taking the long way around, hunting down some Overlords. Perhaps that's the reason why. And she lost the one that was down here scouting, so she's pulling on back her Overlords. She doesn't want to lose anything, so that's precisely why she's doing exactly that. MisterDee just continuing on with his build, just getting Warp Gate finished up now. Grabbing some additional gateways, as we can see, and a bunch of pylons so he won't be supply blocked. And also more Phoenixes on the way. And this is actually a really interesting build. If she switches over to Hydralisk, which she is doing right now, and then continues on with these missile attacks as well as Carapace upgrades, grabbing that additional evolution chamber really quickly so that she can do that. Roach Hydra, really, really good. And this is actually kind of playing against MisterDee. MisterDee going with an air build, and Hydras are so good against air. And yes, there's a good number of Phoenix here, and she's actually MisterDee is going to take care of a good couple of Overlords, but not able to really influence these mineral lines because of the fact that there are Spore Crawlers and Queens defending them at literally every single site.
Yeah, LiviBee is now at her magic number of drones. She's at 70 drones. She's adding on 15 Hydralisks and getting actually Hydra range first. Hydra range makes it look like she wants to be a little bit more defensive first. If you want to be aggressive, usually muscular augments first, which is the Hydra speed, but Aspire is coming down. And in this case, I would say, oh, that's interesting. I was going to say, in this case, it's probably not for Mutalisks. But she canceled +2 ranged attack. And she's getting ranged Hydralisk's attack for the Hydra upgrade rather than speed. And normally, if you do a Hydra into Mutalisk swap, you only get 1 upgrade. So this could still be Mutalisks. She's baking a fair number of gas. Yeah, this could be Mutalisks, but I guess I would still say that it's probably going to be for Corruptors. Yeah, and there's an infestation pit at the same time, so this is probably going to be for Corruptors and do some kind of poke.
Yep, absolutely. She has 11 roaches on the waist, but these Hydralisks do not have the speed upgrade, and they're going to be very slow to get on out of here. Get a couple of cancels there on, but at the end of the day, I don't feel that this is a great idea. All right, there's the muscular augments going down. I think she values the range so that she can handle the anti-air a little bit better. But it looks like the Hydras are going to move on up front, but there is a Colossus here, and this is a small force of units here. They're not going to be terribly intimidated by these Hydras because you can see they are moving on back. Just wondering where these roaches are. They need to get into high gear and get on out. There they are. There's a handful of them, and it looks like the forces are all withdrawing back here to this particular location, and where they'll regroup. And Phoenix is moving in over for MisterDee. It looks like he's going to continue to try and do some harass, maybe pick off some additional Overlords, or not, and just going to hold in a holding position. This Overseer does see it, and LiviBee pulls it out of position very, very quickly indeed. She's playing really good StarCraft today, I must say. Like, no major mistakes, and she's just catching everything in the minimap.
Yeah, and that's interesting. She made a couple of Mutalisks and now is making Corruptors. So she's only on like 6 Mutalisks, and she is getting ranged upgrades for the Mutalisks. This is very weird. She's also going up to Hive Tech, and in this case, it seems like she's not quite sure what she wants to do, because she's droning, which is normal, whatever you're doing as her. She's taking her 4th bases. She's pretty happy on her saturation on 3. She wants to just make sure that 4th gets instantly saturated and gets the gases. and can continue production and whatever. But she's got double evolution chambers. She's got Mutalisks and Corruptors out. She's got all the Hydra upgrades. She's getting Enduring Locusts, and she's going after Hive. She can't afford all of this. She's got a huge surplus of minerals and almost no gas because she can't afford all the tech that she's chosen. So I really am not sure where she wants to go in the end game.
Yeah, it seems a little bit odd. It's almost like it's one or the other. I mean, I think you can go Roach Hydra and have a very strong force, or you can have a lot of Mutalisks and have a very strong force, or you can have a lot of Swarm Hosts or Infestors, and again, you can have a very strong force. But to have, for lack of better terms, I don't think it's able to be balanced. I don't think you can have a lot of Roach Hydra, a lot of Mutalisk. They don't complement each other very, very well. And I think she started off with a Roach Hydra type build, and then this is what she's kind of wound up to. I think the Corruptors and the Mutalisk are to help deal with the Phoenix play, just so that she has something that moves very quickly and can answer the anti-air of the Phoenix. But at the same token, this is slowing her down by quite a bit, I should add. And I think maybe the Swarm Host is an afterthought after there to help try and siege the front door, and that's why she's going with the Locusts and the Enduring Locust upgrade as well.
Yeah, I mean, and in most Zerg players' minds, Swarm Hosts are the go-to unit in late game ZVP. You have to transition out of them eventually, but they're so good in so many circumstances. They're so cost-effective. And if you've seen any of Stefano's games, you know how ridiculously cost-effective they are. Stefano, in the recent months, has been doing the lamest possible Zerg play that you can imagine, but it's the correct way, right? It's the best way to play against Protoss late game. There's not a better way and more reliable way of doing it, and it's just so horrendously cost effective. There's not a good reason to not do it. But in this case, she doesn't quite have the numbers she needs, right? Swarm Hosts are usually best in numbers of 16 to 18, and in this case, there's 7. And this is a result of that, a little bit of that bipolar choice that she was making earlier, where oh, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. I'm going to make Roach Hydra, and then I'm going to make Mutalisk. And then I'm going to make Corruptors, and then I'm going to tech. And then I'm going to cancel an upgrade and then remake it. She can't quite decide what she wants to do, either as a reaction to her opponent's composition or as a reaction to having so much freedom on the map.
And things not going well for MisterDee. He's lost all of his Phoenix, just a bad flyby over top of the Hydralisks. Of course, they shoot into the sky. And MisterDee, in response to that, actually knocks down his Rock Tower to buy himself some additional time. Very smart move, doesn't cost any energy, and will buy him at least a couple of seconds to be able to kind of get things back together and kind of refocus on what's going on. He does have a good force that can engage this very, very well. Does he have an observer? Yes, he does. So he can take out these Swarm Hosts, but it's now free units versus expensive units. And earlier in this series, in this tournament, yesterday in the evening, I was mentioning that, you know, this is a play that we will see quite a bit between Zerg and Protoss. Locust play is so good, and will just continue to whittle away at MisterDee until he can get out and push this. Now, that being said, LiviBee does not have any detection with her right now out in the field. So if MisterDee is able to push out, he will be able to kill these Swarm Hosts. There's going to be no detection to take care of the Observer, so, but that being said, there is a good bit of Vipers here to help pull these Colossus and Void Rays out of position here. So we'll see how this is going. Take it from here. This is like getting really, really good.
Yeah. There's a big engagement possibly happening right now. LiviBee can abduct Colossus, can abduct Void Rays just like that. Yeah, this is a big engagement. But LiviBee is in a bad position. The force fields dissect the army, and LiviBee is forced to push back. She doesn't really have to commit very much. She's waiting for the Locust to come in. She doesn't have to push until the Locust is there and able to make a lot of the damage for her. But there's something that's distracting her. She's losing her 5th base from the top middle part of the map just to a warp in from that speed prism. That warp prism is so very fast from the recent patch, and there's no defenses back at home for her. She's got so many minerals, but she hasn't had the time. She hasn't had the APM to dedicate to building static defense. She needs to deal with these drops and these mass warp-ins in her main, or she could lose the game.
Yep, absolutely. And trying to hold here, getting another abduct on the Colossus. All the Colossus have now indeed fallen. And it is now, again, Locusts working away on these ground units. Without the Colossus putting down the DPS, it's going to be a bit of a problem. But that being said, she has problems of her own. And this mass Zealot force is just going to town, killing off the Queens, working away in her main now, as well as in her third, and I think even, no, not in her natural. And this is going to force a complete retreat of all of her units to be able to handle this, save for the Swarm Host and the Vipers who are going to stay forward to help continue to apply pressure on MisterDee. But MisterDee, really a very, very economically good counterattack and doing a lot of damage. And in fact, even being able to kill a hatchery is going to slow things down for LiviBee quite a bit.
Yeah, he's actually killed 2 hatcheries and is making his way to killing a third in that bottom left-hand side. There's just one zealot going to town on that hatchery, but yeah, there comes some Hydralisk. They're going to clean that up. The Locusts have remained at the forefront of this game. They've been just rallied into that third base of MisterDee. MisterDee has no bank. Look at his money. He's broke. He's spending all of it so fast. There's no fourth base for him. There's no transition coming up. He's still stuck. That warp in back at LiviBee's house, that was exactly what they wanted. It did a lot of damage, but he's still stuck. He's got no transition. He's got no money. He can't deal with this army of LiviBee. And yeah, here comes, this is the number of Swarm Hosts that you need. LiviBee has 19 Swarm Hosts right now, and this will do critical damage to the army of MisterDee. And here comes the big engagement. Just from Locusts. There's a lot of Locusts just doing damage to those Stalkers, those Colossus. And yeah, MisterDee says, you know what, I can't engage that, I'm going to back up. And now his army is out of position, and this third base is going to go down.
Oh, absolutely. It's tit for tat. You take my third base, I'll take yours. And you're absolutely right. He has no economy. He has no way to transition out of this. He cannot expand. He doesn't have the 400 minerals needed for another Nexus. He's got to try and take out the Swarm Host, and it looks like he's doing precisely that. There's no detection here to take care of the Observer. The Colossus is going to fall, but so are so many Swarm Hosts. Nice time warp, slowing things down here for these Hydralisks as they try to engage all of the Void Rays. However, unfortunately, so many units are checking out, and a big GG, and LiviBee takes game number 2. Very decisively again. I'm actually really liking her play a great deal. And the reason I say that is that you can see that she's putting thought into it. What am I going to do next? Where am I going to go with this? How am I going to do these things? Yes, certainly, I think there's some hesitation with regards to the kind of the build composition she was choosing. Going with a Swarm Host, Roach Hydra, ultimately losing the Roaches and just having Hydra Swarm Host to support. But it did look pretty shaky there in the middle. It didn't look like it was the best, the most efficient build, but at the same token, it did work reasonably well. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, she couldn't make up her mind in that mid game because she tried a bunch of different stuff and tried to do a bunch of different stuff all at once, and it didn't quite work out for her. But once she got to the end game, she was obviously in her element. She knew what she was doing. She knew how to contain the Protoss. She didn't quite have everything together in terms of defenses back at home. She had enough money to really make that happen, but it didn't end up happening in that game because her attention was directed elsewhere. But that could easily be chalked up to land jitters because, I mean, you know, if she's from Australia, she's flown all the way over here, and, you know, her sleep's probably not that great, and it's MLG. Everybody gets nervous in MLG. It really did look like she was just much more comfortable in the PvZ matchup than MisterDee.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, MisterDee is unfortunately knocked out of the tournament. He will not be continuing on through the losers bracket. LiviBee, though, will advance into round 2 of the losers bracket. Will continue on the tournament. Her career is not over yet today. She is a caster from Sydney, Australia. Olivia will be, I'm sure, victorious or not. She will be heading back to continue on a very, very good career as a caster. But nonetheless, she will be continuing on. So keep your eyes peeled on her. She's doing quite well. Check her out on Facebook as well. I mentioned it earlier on. Let me just see if I can get you guys her Facebook page again. Facebook is facebook.com/TheLiviBee, just like as you see on the screen earlier on. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. My name is Nightshade. We're going to take a quick commercial break and get ready for our next matchup, which is going to be starting in about 6 minutes' time. We're still trying to get the players together, his name for you. Once I get it to you, we will get it up onto the screen for you. But as it sits right now, just stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute. My name is Nightshade.
And I'm Judge, and we'll see you right back here real quick.